May, only on ESPN Classic.
Throughout its long history of gridiron excellence, the University of Notre Dame has stood tall as the cornerstone of collegiate football. For 10 decades, they have marched to the beat of a different drummer, and in doing so, marched their way into the hearts of football fans all across the country. Since 1887, they produced a wealth of legendary coaches and players, who between them have accounted for a record 7 national championships and 7 Heisman Trophy honors. Now in their 100th season, the spirit of these legends come alive in the shape and form of the 1987 Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. They came alive inside second-year head coach Lou Holtz, who set out in '87 to accomplish 4 specific goals.
First goal, of course, we wanted to have a winning season. Second goal, we wanted to go to a bowl game. The third goal, we wanted to play on January 1. And our fourth goal was we wanted to win the national championship.
They came alive and tackled Tom Rader and the rest of the offensive line, who provided the leadership for Notre Dame's multiple offense.
He always said that the offensive line has to be the leaders because so much evolves around them. I mean, we're kind of the silent mainstay of the offense, and we really enjoyed having the feeling of the team on our shoulders.
They came alive in linebacker Wes Pritchett, who led a group of dedicated defenders called the No-Name Defense, a title they would thrive on throughout the season.
Nobody felt discouraged or mad that anybody was calling us the no-names. It was kind of an incentive for everybody to prove to everybody else that we weren't no-names, that we were still good players, even though we had lost a lot of starters from last year's team.
They came alive inside flanker Tim Brown, whose faith and hard work enabled him to capture college football's most coveted award.
I credit God with all my natural abilities, but I think people realize that you can't do anything without working hard and keeping your ability to the top.
But above all, they came alive in the students and alumni whose undying support enabled the Fighting Irish to not only wake up the echoes, but bring them to life. '87 on the heels of their 38-37 win at USC that ended the '86 campaign for the Irish and head coach Lou Holtz.
From the minute the ball went through the upper 8 at the last play at Southern Cal, we immediately started looking forward to 1987. And at that time, I made a comment. I said, you know, I think we'll be a better football team in 1987, even though we won't be as talented.
For Notre Dame, it seemed only fitting that its 100th season would begin against the Michigan Wolverines, the team that christened the birth of Irish football a century ago. With just 4 starters returning on defense, Notre Dame quickly demonstrated that it couldn't be taken lightly. All-America senior linebacker Cedric Figaro's interception was promptly converted into 3 points by kicker Ted Grotto. His first ever attempt for the Irish split the uprights from 44 yards as Notre Dame led 3-0. On their very next possession, Michigan once again fell victim to the young but aggressive Irish defense. Taking advantage of a Jeff Coons fumble recovery, senior quarterback Terry Andrzak drove the Irish into Michigan territory. 2 plays later, he spotted Tim Brown in the end zone behind excellent protection.
I had a tremendous amount of time, which I was happy about, which I needed. And I sort of zoned in on Timmy a little more. I had other people open, and I just threw up in the corner, and he did a great job coming down with it with a couple of defenders on him.
Andrzak back to throw, sets up, looks all kinds of time, looking to throw. Man wide open is Brown. The pass intended for Brown. He caught it. Touchdown! Touchdown Irish! A leaping catch by Timmy Brown, and he was double covered in the near corner of the end zone.
Notre Dame Dame's quick start shocked the 100,000-plus who jammed at Michigan Stadium as it jumped out to a 10-0 halftime lead. Starting the second half, Coach Holtz reminded his defense that Michigan would surely come out throwing. Rising to the challenge, free safety Corny Southall's interception not only ended the Wolverine threat, but gave the Irish excellent field position. It was Michigan's fourth turnover, and it would cost them dearly as Andrzak once again led the Irish deep into Wolverine territory. Sophomore fullback Braxton Banks capped off the 55-yard scoring drive as Notre Dame now led by 17. From that point on, the second half became a carbon copy of the first half, as Southall's second interception would also be converted into 6 points by the offense. Staying on the ground, the Irish needed just 5 plays to find the end zone. Freshman tailback Ricky Waters applied the icing on the cake for Notre Dame, who went on to defeat the Wolverines 26-7. Although it was a highly encouraging start for the offense, the unsung heroes on this day would be the no-name defense. Led by junior linebacker Ned Bolkar, the Irish defenders forced 7 Michigan turnovers. 23 of the 26 points scored were direct results of Notre Dame's aggressive defense. Above all, it was an extremely important confidence builder for the Irish, defeating the Wolverines in Michigan Stadium while recording their first season-opening victory in 4 years. Week 3 found Notre Dame in Ross-Ade Stadium, where under the watchful eye of Lou Holtz, the Irish hope to continue their winning ways against rival Purdue. Having won only once in their last 7 visits to Ross-Ade, the offense got on track early as Terry Andrzak and fullback Anthony Johnson combined on a 51-yard bomb that caught Purdue by surprise. After Ted Grottle gave the Irish an early lead, junior tailback Mark Green and Anthony Johnson made it a 10-point advantage as Notre Dame appeared unstoppable. But the Boilermakers would hang tough. Rallying for 17 unanswered points, Purdue became the first team to score against Notre Dame in the first half. With the Irish trailing for the first time all year, sophomore cornerback Stan Smagala slowed down the charging Boilermakers on a perfectly timed interception. Despite Smagala's theft, the Irish still trailed by 3. Yet the thought of losing to Purdue never once crossed the mind of quarterback Terry Andrzak.
We were down, but the attitude of the team was, we're not going to lose this. We all sensed the feeling that, we were down, but there's no way this team's going to beat us, and there's no way we're going to suffer a loss today. And that was a funny thing about it. And sure enough, the second half we came out and controlled the ball real well and went ahead.
Behind 20-17, the offense quickly shifted into high gear. Wasting little time, the Irish promptly drove 91 yards in 12 plays to regain the lead. Anthony Johnson's third touchdown of the game ignited the rejuvenated offense as Tim Brown and Terry Andrzak immediately followed with a 44-yard touchdown strike.
Second down and 10, Notre Dame from the Purdue 48-yard line. Here's Andrzak rolling to the left, looking to throw, sets up, throwing long, got Tim Brown at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Timmy Brown.
With the game now in the hands of the Irish defense, any hopes of a Purdue comeback were put to rest by free safety Corny Southall.
The interception against Purdue, I would say, was a complete team effort because the down linemen had a great pass rush.
And as the quarterback rolled out, I just mirrored his release. And as he threw the ball, I had a pretty good break on the ball. The other players on the team just turned and blocked, and it was just picture perfect. Everyone had to block the man, and as it turned out, I was caught at like the 2-yard line and fell into the end zone. And it was a complete team effort.
After defeating Purdue 44-20, Notre Dame enjoyed a well-earned week off before heading east to face the Pitt Panthers. Against Pittsburgh, the 4th-ranked Irish would taste defeat for the first time all season, and not without heavy casualties. Starting quarterback Terry Andrzak would suffer a season-ending injury, falling victim to a broken collarbone. As head coach Lou Holtz and defensive coordinator Foge Fazio laid down a new plan of attack, the Irish promptly responded behind sophomore quarterback Tony Rice. With the Irish trailing 27-0, Rice rallied Notre Dame for 3 second-half touchdowns. Todd Light's special team play kept the Irish within striking distance. Mark Green's first 6-pointer of the season would cut the Panther lead to 8. But it would be too little too late. Suffering their first defeat in 4 games, the 30-22 loss to the Panthers became a learning experience for Mark Green and the rest of the Irish players.
Pittsburgh game really opened our eyes, and we realized that we could be beat. And from that time forward, we knew that we had to go out and we had to play as hard as we can every game.
For the 4th time in 5 games, the Irish took to the road, this time against the Falcons of Air Force. Welcomed with a Top Gun salute, Notre Dame would not be intimidated, for the Irish brought a Top Gun of their own in the disguise of quarterback Tony Rice. Lou Holtz immediately showed tremendous confidence in his young quarterback, who was starting for the first time. Faced with a 4th and 1 early in the game, Holt's decision to bypass a sure field goal quickly paid dividends as Rice gave the Irish an early advantage. Gaining confidence on every play, Rice once again led the way to the Falcon end zone. From 4 yards out, Rice's second touchdown lit a fuse under the Irish the Falcons could not extinguish. Using strictly a ground attack, Irish running backs responded by rushing for the most yards in one game since 1980. Led by junior Mark Green, the Irish tallied 354 yards against the overmatched Falcon defense. With Air Force unable to stop Notre Dame's running game, Braxton Banks put the Irish in front 28-7. In the second half, Tim Brown continued his wizardry over the Falcons with a 74-yard punt return for a touchdown, his 3rd of the season.
Tim Brown going to get a chance to field it. He does. From the 27 to the 30, 35, he's at the 40, 45, could be at the 50, under the 40, under the 30. He's going to go all the way, 74 yards. Tim Brown for a touchdown.
For the 2nd consecutive year, Brown's extraordinary kick-returning ability scorched the Air Force defense. And although the Irish were playing in Falcon Stadium, it was obvious people were getting the message about the talent of Tim Brown. Defensively, the Irish continued to excel. Tackle Brian Flannery shut down the wishbone on a critical 4th and 2. For many reasons, it was an important victory for Notre Dame. But above all, the Falcon game represented the emergence of their young quarterback, as Mark Green remembers.
He really matured a lot when he got the starting role because he knew that he had to come in and he had to do the job. And he really did. He came together with us and did a real good job. We're real proud of him.
Rolling over the Falcons 35-14, the Irish immediately returned home for a critical confrontation against the... Having lost 4 straight to the Irish, USC entered Notre Dame Stadium determined to turn things around. But Notre Dame also knew that revenge would be a major factor, having defeated the Trojans last season in what many consider the greatest comeback in Irish history. Right from the start, Notre Dame knew it was in for a war as Southern Cal produced a 70-yard scoring drive on the very first possession. Knowing full well how explosive the Trojan offense could be, defensive coordinator Foge Fazio calmly settled down his defensemen. Becoming more aggressive, the Irish regained control as Trojan quarterbacks and wide receivers suddenly found themselves paying the price for every yard gained. With both teams so evenly matched in talent, the Irish were well aware that to beat USC, they would have to win the battle of the trenches. Rising to the challenge, the offensive line of Byron Spruill, Jeff Pearson, Chuck Lanza, Tom Freeman, Tom Rader, and Andy Heck began to open up huge holes in Southern Cal's front line. Rice's 26-yard sprint to the end zone capped off an 88-yard drive as Notre Dame led for the first time 10-7. With the offense starting to take command, tailback Ricky Waters weaves his way through the Trojan defenders as Notre Dame continues to roll. From a full house backfield, Tim Brown coasted into the end zone as the momentum of the game was now squarely in the hands of the Irish. Riding the coattails of his offensive lineman, Mark Green scored Notre Dame's third unanswered touchdown as the Irish took a commanding 26-7 advantage. Trailing by 19, it was now Southern Cal's turn to try to pull off a miracle comeback. But inside linebacker Ned Bolkar knew the defense could do no wrong.
It seems like everything was just going right. Our defense played well the entire game. Every time they ran the ball, I felt like we had 11 guys going 100 miles an hour to the ball. And in the second half, it seems like no longer could USC even move the ball a foot.
But while the defense once again put on an excellent performance, even it would take a back seat to tackle Tom Rader, center Chuck Lanza, and the rest of the offensive line, who CBS Sports voted as the game's most valuable players.
When we got the award, it was kind of like we looked at each other and said, "What? Are you sure?" But it was an enjoyable experience, and one thing that I always remember.
Oh, it was a definite high, no doubt about that. You know, I think we played well up front, all of us. In a game like USC, it just magnified the greatness of the win. Most of us up there, the 4 of us that are fifth-year seniors, it's the 5th time that we've beaten USC, and I definitely think it was a landmark game in our careers.
Of course, CBS wasn't the only one who appreciated the offensive line's performance. Tailback Mark Green also had high praise for his blockers.
I think it's a running back's dream to get the ball from the quarterback and to see the holes and the seams made by the offensive line. I mean, getting the ball and seeing 3 different ways to go, and you get to pick and choose what hole you hit. And the guys up front really did a nice job in opening the things up and really getting the momentum going on offense.
Defeating Southern Cal 26-15, Notre Dame entered into the second half of its season with an empty stadium. The Irish defense quickly put out the unwelcome mat. In his first start for the Irish, freshman Kent Graham hit Tim Brown for 58 yards on Notre Dame's first play from scrimmage. Although the offense was experiencing little trouble in advancing the ball, once in close, Boston College would not allow the Irish entrance to its end zone. Relying on kicker Ted Grottle, the Irish settled for 2 first-half field goals. But Boston College had a few surprises for the Irish as the breaks began to fall in their favor. After the Golden Eagles added to their lead, tailback Mark Green and split end Reggie Ward would immediately team up on a 33-yard run that brought the Irish right back from a 17-6 halftime deficit.
During the Boston College game, I got the ball, I fielded the pitch on the option, and I looked upfield and I saw Reggie Ward and one defensive guy in front of me. And I knew that Reggie was going to get his block. It's just a matter of which way Reggie was going to take the guy. So I waited, and Reggie pushed the guy to the outside. I jumped back inside the block and then tried to get to the end zone as fast as I could.
Here's the option. Rice pitching out to Green. Green at the 35, 30, 25, at the 20, looking for a block. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Irish. What a beautiful run by Mark Green. 33 yards, 61 yards, 7 plays, and the Irish are back in it.
But their celebration would be short-lived as Boston College rebounded to take a 25-12 lead. This time it would be the defense that started an Irish comeback. Linebacker Flash Gordon's fumble recovery was assisted by tackle Mike Griffin, who stripped the ball from the Boston College running back. Capitalizing on the turnover, Notre Dame's offense began to come alive. Anthony Johnson fought his way through the Golden Eagle defense en route to his 10th touchdown of the season, letting the margin